I've watched your journey over the past 20 years. When I stepped out from McKinsey into my own business, I think you were one of those guys where I was like, yeah, okay, one day when I'm big.
And then I liquidated business 3 times. So you learned a lot from me. To liquidate the business.
That's how closely I was watching your journey. So let's talk a little bit about your recent collaboration, I'd say, or partnership with Decode. I mean, working with Lorato, that must be so much fun. Talk about fun, right?
No, it's not. So I wanted to quit this work. In fact, I think
I thought you did.
I technically quit this business.
Yeah, I thought you did.
And Lorato insisted that I should come back into this world. He thought I had some value to add. I got tired, and I'm going to be very honest. The industry had been dumped down. Right? And I felt that I have no status to compete anymore in the industry, because you walk into a client and you share your thoughts and you say it's going to cost you 10 rand, and they say, well, somebody just walked out of this room asking for 1 rand. And I knew at that point there's trouble. I know I'm not going to go, not even to 5 rand, let alone 1 rand. And therefore it means maybe I've served my time. Maybe I don't belong here anymore. But even the fun was never there. I'm not going to lie. However, Lorato came to me and said, I'm looking only for 2 things from you, which is Venus secrets, right? He said, I'm looking for a black book.
Okay.
The networks that you've built so that we can help, bring more business into into our space, and strategic counsel. I've been doing this thing for so long that I suspect I know 1 or 2 things that I can advise on in this business. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I was very excited when I saw that.
Thank
I didn't
you.
let any of you know, but quietly sitting on my couch and just very excited for the collaboration.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk about the book.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Not business.
So what inspired it? Okay, firstly, what inspired the name? Let's start with the name.
No, may I start with the first question?
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If you allow me.
Yes, please.
Look, I've always known I'm going to write at some point, right? And then I made a mistake of writing a clever book in 2008. I regret to this day. We already have a problem with people not reading. It's even more so when you write clever books. Nobody's going to read it.
Okay.
And at some point in my life, I decided I'm going to write fiction. I'm going to write fiction. I'm getting a lot of clever stuff. I'm going to stop trying to advise people to read and walk away thinking they've got tools to do stuff out there.
Yeah.
They must just read, laugh, cry, or even ridicule. It's
Have
okay.
fun with the book.
Right?
Yeah.
But it took me long to get to what I could write about. Incidentally, in 2008, I was in Australia on some study tour.
Okay.
And one day, years later, I read a book by Lerato Mokwakhe, The Vagabond. I hope at least some of you have read it. It's a great book. She chronicles her travels around the continent.
Yeah.
And I thought, could I tell my travels in Australia? However, I'm going to fictionalize my travel, because who cares about Australia? I can't go write a travel book about Australia for you guys.
Yeah.
I thought the best way to do it is to fictionalize it. And that's how this book was born. So it traces the entire journey I took, but I created all new characters, and everything that happened here had nothing to do with me except the towns that I went into in New South Wales. The name, yes, it's from Sade's song, because one of the couples spend the night sharing thoughts and their views about Sade's music.
Okay.
And they make love to her music.
Okay.
And that's how the name is born.
Wow, thanks. Okay, I'm definitely getting the book. Definitely, that's how you started. The transition or the thought to go fictional, someone asked me why I have not written a book about my journey, and I had that same thought. To be honest with you, brutally honest, at the last My Biggest Blunders event, he asked me, because he just written his book, and I said to him, you know what, if I ever write a book, it'll be fiction. Or it would be fictionalized, it would still be, it's almost like The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Yeah.
That's the reference that I know. So you get the value out of it, you extract a lot of value from it, but then I can be free to just tell stories, right? Because and not point to when I was approached by someone in 2018 and I lost a 10 million rand deal, and because the guy wanted to sleep with me. So obviously I'd like to tell that story, but without really mentioning his name.
Did you take the money?
No, I was never going to sleep with him. No way. I'm very picky, but so I suppose that's why I'm still single. But okay, so let's talk a little bit.
You see, people are laughing, having fun. It's been serious with these business people here. Yeah, that's have fun.
So talk to me a little bit more about the book. So you fictionalized it, you talk about the couple, but are you in it? So obviously I haven't read the book.
Nothing biographical in the book.
Yeah.
So unbiographical that the main character, who, by the way, is South African,
Okay.
black male South African, is nothing about me. I mean, for his sins, he supports Kaiser Chiefs. I mean, I would never.
Obvious, what is that?
His politics are ANC. I've never heard ANC politics. I declare, right? So it's not me. There's nothing about me in the book except the towns there, because I know the towns. I went to those 5 towns that I could write about those towns in Australia. But nothing biographical at all. And by the way, if you don't know, this is Erotica. Yes. You need to clear up front.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted. It certainly will improve relationships.
You can smell a Netflix.
I hope so.
Knocking on your door.
From your lips to God's ears.
Okay. So this is the second book you published.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So the first one, you call it a clever book.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the transition from that to here and just being in the publishing space.
There was absolutely no transition. The one book was done 2008.
Yeah.
I even forgot about it. Like,
You
it's
did?
gone.
Okay.
Like, although I sold a lot of copies from the boot of my car, self-published.
Yeah. Also it was self-published.
Self-published, yeah. So this happened late in life when the edge of writing was still there, but I said to myself, you are not going back to these serious things. If you look inside this room, there are many stories to be told here.
Yeah.
There are great stories that we could tell about the business. People could tell his story. I could write his book, right? I'd like to write his book, by the way. There are so many stories. There are motivational things that could come out here. And I said to myself, I'm not going to pretend that my story is so valid that everybody must hear it. But I know what is valid. I can write. So at least you can read what I write. It doesn't have to be about me. Yeah.
Self-published?
Half self-published.
Okay.
So, let me explain. So there is a publisher here, wonderful woman called Melinda Ferguson.
Oh!
Yes. So
Is
Melinda,
it random or penguin?
she did random, and then she did, who are these Africans?
Yeah.
Those.
Okay.
Yeah, but here she's doing it in her own publishing house.
Oh.
Ride or Die, she calls it.
Nice.
And the reason it happens that I had tried to publish the book for 2 years, and none of the mainstream publishers were touching the book, right?
Because
And we'll get there.
okay.
And Melinda got the manuscript, fell in love with it, and said, listen, because it is hard to get a mainstream publisher, I have a suggestion for you. Let's start a 50-50 business and publish this book as co-publishers. So I'm both author and co-publisher of the book. And
I'm happy to hear that she's also done it her own.
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
brilliant, right?
she's amazing. She wrote
Yeah.
the latest book on AKA, right?
Yeah.
Why didn't they touch the book? black man goes to Australia and
Writes an erotic novel.
no, I'm talking the character now.
Oh, okay.
This fellow here,
Yeah.
he goes into Australia, he travels around 5 towns, and he pays Australia rate, if you know what I mean. Right? So I think there was a bit of, what right does this black man have to sleep with all these white women in Australia? So they took exception. There was no reason, from a literary point of view, why they couldn't publish this. I can tell you now. It was just
That is
the discomfort.
Why are we so uncomfortable
When we
with...
should start our own publishing houses
Right.
and not depend on them. There was no single black publishing house.
And you did that. You did that. Yeah. So, self-published, co-publisher, what's the difference for you
Well,
in terms of the experience?
It's much more work when you're alone, right?
Can
Partnerships
imagine.
are always great. And she knows publishing. She's been in
Yeah.
publishing for many years. So I could learn from her. She did most of the publishing work and poured in the lessons onto me. And the other great thing is that I make more money from every sale of the book. If I give you an example, the book retails at 280 rand, by the way, the cheapest book on the shelf and the best. It retails at 280 rand. If I had gone with a conventional mainstream publisher, at best, if I were lucky, I would walk away with about 30, 40 rand from the sales. If I were very lucky. Sure. At this rate, 50% of this of what is profit comes to me, and it's not shady. I could buy an Erotica if you guys bought it.
Without a discount.
If you guys bought the book, I'd buy an Erotica.
Wow, that is interesting. I'd like us to circle back to something though that is just bugging me a bit. The discomfort with publishers to publish a book about a black guy that's painting Australia red, sleeping with white women. Why do you think that discomfort still exists?
You know, the reason I moved to fiction is because I don't want to think about serious things like this. I'd like to leave it to experts to answer those kind of questions. But I know it is there.
It does.
It is there, right? And I know some of these guys. I mean, I've been in this world. So the publishers, a lot of them knew me personally. It's not like I was a stranger to them. So it's just...
Yeah, because my last boyfriend was white. So, and the looks that look everywhere. And I was just like, why is this still happening? Why is this still happening? You know, and I think maybe that's bugging me. Why it's bugging me. So, but anyway.
When I find out, I'll let you know.
Please. I'd love to understand it because I just feel like we as human beings be over this by now.
But let me explain something. And I've been asked this question a lot in interviews about where do we draw the line between erotica and pornography, right? And I think that's part of
Is
the
this like
problem.
50 Shades of Grey?
Well, the tagline in the cover by Musa Molo says South Africa's own 50 Shades in black and white.
Oh.
So you answered, right?
Yes.
So, if you think about erotica, you hardly ever see black people in erotica. Unless it's done by us. We're not there. The only time we are featured in big works is in pornography because we have made fetishes. Right? Guys coming with 24 centimeter stuff, you know, screaming all over the world. We've been made tools of fetish. And I suppose somewhere they see them say, but you guys can't do this beautiful. Right? It's not supposed to be that way. So I know that's the point. I know that's what they were not comfortable with. Had I written a book that made us look the same way we look all the time, they would have been happy.
Wow, so this is groundbreaking. Thanks. What you've memorialized, I think. Just, you've obviously turned your trip into a beautiful book, but what you've memorialized or what you're breaking ground on is see us a different way. Did you do that stuff in Australia, or you just still is it still
So
fiction?
let me answer that question. that question comes to me all the time. I was a guest of Rotary International. Now, if you know Rotary,
Yeah.
you don't even have a chance to touch anybody on their head. That's it's like highly monitored, exceptionally professional.
Association, group of people.
Yeah, that trip was so impossible that all I did in Australia was to meet people and drink alcohol. Well, and eat lots of fish and chips, because they like fish and chips.
Okay.
So nothing, zero. Not
So
one.
this is what you wanted to do.
No,
Okay.
it was not even a fantasy. The reason I wrote this book, honestly, is because I just felt that black people must exist in beautiful work of erotica. I really feel
love
that why are we locked out of that space?
I love
Don't we make love? Don't we do things that everybody else does? Why is it not in the book?
I love that. Okay, so I'm definitely getting the book. Anybody else with me?
Yeah, only I'm here, I've got lots of books in the book.
Okay, okay. Is there anything that you want to leave our audience with? Just when it comes to publishing, maybe a key thing that they should be aware of as they enter the publishing space?
You know, I think if you look at this room, it would be amazing if we walked out of this room and took a decision that we're going to start a publishing house among us, right, as equal partners, and start by publishing our own stories.
Like you
If we
did.
could just do that, and publish our own stories, publish her story as an interpreter and translator, publish his story of giving out cars when he's not supposed to do that. But we need to do that.
Yeah.
But it starts with us. The Afrikaners are my greatest role models. So look at how they got themselves out of the stranglehold of the English and became as big as they became, including, of course, oppressing us. But they decided they'd do it themselves for their own.
Okay, so who's in on the publishing? Okay, hands are raised, Alfie. Hands are raised. Okay, so let's wrap it there. I'm definitely looking forward to reading this book. Yeah.
Yeah.
And thanks for.
Really quickly, there's another one coming out.
I like it. Rams, thanks.